Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead on Porch Time again today. Guys, another dry, beautiful day. It's cool, low 60s, 30s in the morning. Absolutely beautiful. We just need more rain. It's just dry. But nevertheless, we're going to take the cool weather and we're going to be happy. Today I want to talk about something that nobody ever really wants to talk about. And that is, who are we really? Who really are we? Do we ever stop to do any self-examination of ourselves to see who we really are? Which one of the Nator families do we belong to? That's right, a Nator family. Do you realize that 99.9% of all of us belong to a Nator family? That's an Nator family. It all depends on which one of the Nators you have the most characteristics of. Now, when I say that, we're going to start out with, are you a participator? Now, I know it doesn't start in Nator, but it is a ATOR. Are you a participator? Do you participate in things whenever they happen, or do you shy away from everybody? You know, it's something to think about. We all have a characteristic about us. And some people are just participators. Every time something's going on, I want to be involved, you know. And then you have other people that kind of like, I'd rather sit in the background. I'd rather not really be a part of that or anything, you know. And that's okay. It just depends. There's nothing wrong with being either way. There's nothing wrong with being any of these, most of them. But there's some of them that needs to be built on now. But we have to determine which one we are so that we can better build our lives to be able to be the most that we can be in life, I guess you might say. What about, are you an agitator? Stop and think about that. Now, that's not an Nator, but it is a Tator. Are you an agitator? Do you agitate people? Do you find pleasure in just stirring up stuff? I mean, stop and think about it. There are those people out there. We've had to deal with them on a regular basis, and it's usually, most of the time, it's going to end up being a family member. You know, that's the terrible part about it. But you always have one in the family that's an agitator. They want to just stir up something. They're like an old washing machine sitting there going back and forth, back. Well, they just got to stir up something. They can't be happy with just being happy. They have got to find a way to get something going on and just be a problem. Well, let's look a little farther. Are you a manipulator? That's an LATOR. Do you manipulate people? Let me tell you something. I have run across a ton of people in my life that would rather do nothing than manipulate you. Maybe I should have titled this ATOR than Nator. I think it's a better thing. As I was sitting thinking about this, Nator just come to my mind, but I think it's ATOR would be even better. Guys, are you a manipulator? There's so many people out there today that manipulate their way through life. They're constantly manipulating somebody to benefit themselves. Now, that's not a good person in life who does that. I'm trying to keep from having to say things I ought not say. But a manipulator is somebody who's really not a good person. You really want to shy away from people who are manipulators. What about a dictator? You know, we have dictators all over the world. Are you a dictator? Do you have a dictator's personality? Do you try to rule with a rod of iron rather than love someone? You know, because we have many, many times in life we see people who are dictators. And most of them, when we think about a dictator, we think about someone in a third world country or something like that, or in a communist country or a socialist country that's just a hateful person, and they just, you know, they're an Adolf Hitler, they're just a dictator. They want, it's got to be their way or no way or the highway, or kings in the past, we chop your heads off because they were just dictators, you know. Those are you know, we don't want to be that kind of person. We don't. Being a dictator is not a good type of person to be. Are you a percolator? Yeah, like a coffee pot. Do you sit and brew over everything? I mean, stop and think about it. Do you constantly sit with things in your mind and just brew about everything and steam and just brew and sit back and just like fume all the time? Because let me tell you something, if you're that kind of person, you're doing nothing but harming yourself. Because 99% of the time, the other person doesn't even have a clue that it's even happening. And the only one you're damaging is yourself. So, you have to understand that people who are percolators, we call them that, the people who sit and brew all the time or steam about stuff, are usually very unhappy people. What about, are you a dominator? Are you the kind of person that likes to dominate everything? You like to dominate the conversation. You like to dominate your family. You like to dominate everything that you're in a part of. You feel like you have to dominate it. So are you a dominator? Because if you are, chances are you don't have a lot of friends. Because people who are always trying to dominate everything are usually people who are not a friendly kind of person. They're usually a very headstrong kind of person, and they're sitting out thinking that they should be the head of everything and that it should be their way or the highway, kind of like a dictator in a lot of ways. You know, I mean, it's you always hear this, especially with husbands and wives. You know, is he a dominator? You know, does he dominate, try to be a dominator over you and stuff like that? The Bible doesn't say that the man is to dominate his wife. It says he's to love his wife. Well, let's look even further. Are you a, what's another word? Are you a hesitator? Are you the kind of person that when something happens, you always hesitate? You're sitting back and you just can't make your mind up. I just don't know. Should I do this? And you're constantly hesitating. You see something that you know needs to be done, but yet you hesitate and you don't do it. And then it's too late. And you miss an opportunity. And you're sitting there going, wow, if I hadn't hesitated, I might have come out on a good end of something there. Well, let's talk about something that's really close to being a hesitator, and that's a procrastinator. Are you a procrastinator? Do you sit and procrastinate about everything? When you know something needs to be done, and you, rather than just getting out and just putting your nose to the grindstone and just doing it, you sit back and you procrastinate. You just say, well, I don't know. I don't know if it should I do this or should I not do that? And then the opportunity of a lifetime a lot of times will slip right through your fingers like sand because you've procrastinated too long. You know, so you have to really stop and think about which one of these type families are you really in. Now, are you an indoctrinator? Do you try to shove your beliefs off on someone else? Are you arrogant about it? I mean, do you get your feathers in a ruffle because you cannot indoctrinate someone into believing the same way you believe? And if they don't believe just like you believe, then what's the old expression? They're going to die and go to hell? You know, are you an indoctrinator? Because let me tell you something. I've learned this in churches and all kinds of things across the world. There are tons of pastors and people in positions of authority in churches like that are indoctrinators. They try to indoctrinate into your mind what they want you to believe. And this has happened all over the course of history. This is nothing new. But they're constantly trying to indoctrinate you into what they believe. And we see that as probably one of the biggest problems in the world today. What about, are you an impersonator? Do you try to impersonate someone that you're not? Are you not comfortable with who you are? And you're always trying to impersonate someone else. You're always trying to make someone believe that you're somebody else rather than who you really are. Are you not happy with who you are? Are you not happy with the fact that God made you the way He made you and He put you where He put you? Or are you always trying to impersonate someone else and trying to be someone you're not? Because, you know, there's a lot to be said in the Bible about that. The Scripture does have things to say about that. Let a man not think more highly of himself than he ought to. And it gives examples of, if a man walks into a room, he should not walk up into and sit at the very front unless they come and ask him to move to the back. You know, all these things are really in the Bible. And what's another one of them? Are you a coordinator? Are you the kind of person that loves to coordinate things? You know, you walk into a room, and these are people who have gifts, by the way. They can walk into a situation and they can coordinate everything, especially when it comes to meals or offices or things like that. They can just walk into a situation, a disaster. They can walk in, they can just coordinate everything. They can put the right thing in the right place at the right time, and they can just make stuff happen because they are very good at coordinating things. And those are the kind of people that you really want to have around in an LCE if it happens, or some sort of major disaster takes place, or the collapse of the economy in a community. You really want a good coordinator in there. When people have parties or weddings or anything like that, they look for a good coordinator, because those are the kind of people that can put stuff together and they can make things snap. You know what I mean? They can make it happen. And those are the kind of people that are blessings, because they really have a lot of gifts and a lot of talents. But on the other hand, stop and think about something. Are you a hibernator? Are you like an old bear? When it gets to be cool, he goes off and climbs up in a den somewhere and just hibernates for the winter time? Or are you kind of like that? Do you just kind of like, what's another word, hermit? Do you kind of like become a hermit and just kind of like hibernate away from everybody? You don't want to be around anybody. You're just not a very happy person. You'd rather hibernate and just stay to yourself, and you'd be just as happy if you didn't ever see another living soul in the world. And guys, look, I'm gonna point the finger at me on this one, because I'm probably guilty of this one more than any of the others. This is the one I'm probably most guilty of, because I spent a lot of my lifetime traveling and going places, working in different places, and now that I've reached retirement and I'm past that, guys, all I want to do is hibernate, and I have to make myself be a people person now. I mean, I really do, because I could hibernate and be a hermit, and I probably would live just fine and be happy, and that's really sad, because I'm gonna point that finger at me, you know, and I know there's a lot of people out there in the homesteading community that feels the same way, and it's not because we don't like people. It's because of everything that's going on in the world. We just get so aggravated and it gets so drugged down about all of it that really we just want to hibernate away from all of it. And you know, and I've been guilty of saying, the Bible even says that we're supposed to hibernate. It says, "Come out from among her, my people, and be separate." You know, I've used all these scenarios in the past when somebody would speak to me. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that 9 times out of 10, people who hibernate for a reason, and a lot of times it's not a good reason. You know, it's and I'm gonna, you know, like I said, I'm probably one of the ones that is probably most guilty of that, and I'm not happy about it. It's one of the things that I have to work on really hard in my personal life, you know, because that's one thing about Porch Time. When I do Porch Time, guys, I'm really, a lot of times I'm talking to myself. A lot of people get offended, say, "Oh, who does he think he is?" You know, actually, the bottom line is this: a lot of times I do Porch Time, it's things that's on my mind, it's things that's on my heart, and it's a lot of times if I can talk about them, then it helps me to realize where I have an issue at, and I'm able to work through things And it's a good thing when you do that. So don't ever get offended on porch time, because nine times out of 10 it's something I'm dealing with in my life, and God's given me freedom to actually come on and talk about it. And I'm trying to, I try to do the best that I can, and share with y'all, and make my life a little more transparent to people around me, to let people know that, hey, you know what? Danny's just like the rest of us. He just puts his britches on one leg at a time, and he lives a normal life just like the rest of us. He's just no country boy, and he has the same problems we have. He faces the same things we face every day. And guys, that's what I try to do when I do porch time, is just to be a little transparent with people. I want us to all feel like none of us are above the other. We're all struggling and fighting our way through this world. And we're just trying to do the best we can while we're here. And we want to try to be an example for those that are coming up after us. And I'm going to talk about one more of the ATOR family. And that's a donator. Are you a donator? Are you one of the kind of people that's always donating to some good cause? You know, the Bible has a lot to say about being a donator, especially when it comes to finances. I mean, the Bible says there's those who cast their bread upon the water and it returns, and there are those who are always giving, and yet they always have. You know, are you a donator? You know, I like to think I'm a donator, because my whole life I've donated to a lot of things. I've seen fathers with children without mothers that wasn't going to have Christmases before, and bought their Christmas for them. I've donated to causes whenever I saw something that I knew was a legitimate cause. I've always donated, and God has always been good enough to me, and He gives it back in tenfold, usually. I've never done it because I wanted people to know, hey, he's this or he's that. It's never. I usually do it quietly and behind the scenes. I never say anything to anybody. If I see somebody struggling along and I know they need something, a lot of times I go and buy it myself and pay for it and just give it to them to help them out. And guys, that's really right there is what life is all about. It's about helping other people. And I know I talked about a lot of the tators and the nators and the ATORs today. And guys, we all fall into one of those at some point. Now, I could have kept going. I mean, my mind was sitting here thinking about different things. I could have probably kept going. You've got discriminators, and I could just probably keep on thinking of those type of words, but that was not the point today. The point today is to do a little self-reflecting, to see who we really are. Where do we fit in life, and why are we where we're at? Are we where we are because of one of the ATOR families? Stop and think about that. Are we a hibernator because of the ATOR family? Have we been a dominator or a dictator, impersonator? I mean, stop and think about it. These type things are what makes us who we are. It builds the character in our life, and gives people, because people they form an opinion about us as an individual instantly when they meet us. Do you come over as being a very kind person, or do you come over as being a mean and hateful person because of one of the ATOR families? You try to dominate someone. Stop and think about that, guys, because each one of them play a part in our life. And on our homesteads, we have to decide on our homesteads, are we a coordinator? Can we put our homestead together? Can we make it happen? Can we pull things together? Can we coordinate a farm? Can we make it work? Lots of people want a homestead, and I think that that's a great thing, but not everybody can handle a homestead because there's a lot of juggling of a lot of things that have to be done on a homestead in order to make it work. And you've got, like us, we have cattle, we have pigs, we have chickens, we have turkeys, we have farming, we have container gardening, we have row cropping. I mean, we have all these type of things. We have raised beds, we have stuff on top of row covers. Guys, all this stuff takes coordination. When you get up in the morning, you have to be able to coordinate and make this happen. Especially if you're still trying to hold a public job. If you're still trying to hold a public job, you have really got your hands full because you are very limited. Unless you have a wife and kids at home that's really hard workers and they can get out there and they can make it happen while you're at work. Or if you're a mother and you're at work and you've got kids that are home that are grown and they can make the place work based on you coordinating everything. I mean, we all fall into one of these categories. Some of us are just procrastinators. It takes us all day to make our mind up to do a 15-minute job, and then when we do it, we're like, wow, really wasn't nothing to that. I spent a whole day worrying about something I didn't even have to worry about, because we procrastinate all the time. So, guys, think about it today. Stop and think about which one of the ATOR families you're a part of, because I'm sure you're a part of one of them, because I'm part of many of them. I'm a participator. I like to participate in things. I like to really get out when something that I'm really into. I like to make sure I can get involved in it, and I like to make it happen. I'm a coordinator. I coordinate the whole place here and make it work. But I do have my downfalls. I do want to be a hibernator a lot of times. Now, I'm not a procrastinator. If I see something he's doing, I'm going to do it. I'm not a hesitator. I don't hesitate. Whenever I see something he's doing, I do it. But I do have my shortfalls. I like to hibernate, and that's one area in my life I'm having to work on, So guys, I'm going to call it off here, but stop and think about it. Which one of the ATOR families are you a part of? Because we're all part of some of them. Try to make it one of the good ones and not one of the bad ones, because I believe that you'll be a lot happier in life if you get in the right ATOR family. And guys, I know Porch Time today's been a little unusual. I had something else planned, but this just popped in my head, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. It may be a total flop. I don't know, but it's something that's just on my mind. And when it's on my mind as heavy as it was, I just couldn't let it go. I had to talk about it today. And maybe the other subject I had on my mind, we'll talk about it another time. But guys, Porch Time is special to me. And I know a lot of y'all say it's special to you. I never dreamed I would keep it going this long, to be honest with you. I didn't know if it would ever be a success or not. But it seems like that it's a really good thing. A lot of people enjoy it. Maybe sometimes I'll just sit back and I have some stories I thought about just telling. I might just do some storytelling one of these days. Because Lord knows we all got stories. You know what I'm saying? So, guys, it's getting a little chilly sitting out here, and I got to go get a fire built and get myself a bite to eat. So, thank you guys. Really, I really want to thank you for taking time to sit down with me on Tuesday mornings and do Porch Time with me, because this is a special time for me. I love spending it with you guys, and I pray that sometimes it can be a little humorous, sometimes it's educational, sometimes it's serious. And guys, I hope today has maybe been a little entertaining. I don't usually do a lot of entertainment, but maybe today was a little entertaining for you, and you found some humor in it. And maybe it made you think at the same time. So, we're going to climb off of here, and we're going to go get ourselves a bite to eat and get us a fire built, and we're going to kick back, and we're just going to enjoy the rest of the afternoon. So, thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.